So game one, I don't particularly know what he's playing. I'm used to him playing Storm, so I'm very comfortable. I feel like I'm going to be the aggressor. This hand is very medium, but it has like a slower, efficient mid-range plan, right? I go Lord into Harbinger, put a Sling Gang on top. Like I have play in this hand. I only have one land, and the Harbinger is my third one, so I need to draw at least one land to cast most of these spells. He plays a Beseiju and a Grazer, and I immediately die inside because, okay, we drew our land, which is good. However, we don't have any plays until turn 3, really, and our turn 3 play is a tutor a card to the top. Our Trash Master, that scratch of the head is me realizing I've died. That Trash Master is our only hope of having any interaction in this game. And I'm realizing that my keep, which would have been like mid versus like, because I'm expecting him to play blue black, honestly. I'm expecting him to play some fair mid range deck, or like Boros, right? And being on Amulet just puts me so far behind. He's already going to get a Amulet of Vigor next turn off of this Urza Saga. And he's got a Vesuva to copy his Urza Saga, so he has another one, so he can grab 2 Amulets of Vigor. So his bounce lands will tap for 4 each, for each land drop, which is insane. Trying not to tip my hand that I have absolutely nothing. I play a Lord that gives me value when it dies, knowing that I'm hoping there's another land on top. I don't want to have to play my Harbinger to put a land on top. Even though I have another Harbinger, I feel like playing the Lord and then having the Shatter up next turn and getting a draw off of my Lord dying is slightly better than putting a random card on top and potentially, taking away a good draw I could just naturally have. Will goes to his turn, gets the Amulet, floats a colorless mana. Yeah, Will's an absolute legend. He plays very, very well, very tight. He said while he was playing that he was really he was like struggling through the lines. Even though I don't feel like he was struggling at all, he was telling me that the deck puts a lot of tax on your brain to be able to like have foresight. You need to be able to see the end game before you even play your land drops. And so he was like telling me how he wishes that he had more practice, which I think is the sign of a real pro player. When you just even if you're doing well with the deck, you still want to have more practice with it. You want to have more experience, because at the end of the day, practice and experience is what makes us better Magic players. So yeah, Will here has an Amulet of Vigor in play and an Urza Saga on 2. Just trying to figure out how we can get a Titan into play. So he just plays a land, Simic Growth Chamber trigger, bounce the Beseiju, plays a second land from the Explorer, which is the Forest, and just barely short of having enough to play a Titan here. I'm so happy I got turn 4. This is the only way that I even have a chance to win this game, is if I'm able to get this Trash Master into play and shatter all his amulets. And then Death Trigger, Sling Gang is exiled. That's really good. There's almost a consideration to not shattering his Vial in response to the Crumbling Vestige trigger, which will come up, so that I can keep my Lord in play for my Sling Gang, so that I have better blockers, because the 3/1/1s plus the Lord is 6, so I could theoretically trade with a Titan. However, if I let Will get keep an Amulet and have a Primeval Titan in play, the game is just over. So I think that shattering in response to this land here is probably the best line that I could have had. So trigger to make the mana. I say in response to the Amulet trigger, so before the land is untapped, which changes almost nothing, but it's what I can try to do. I'm debating whether or not I want to let him cast the Titan and choose his lands and then shatter it, but I'm thinking if that happens, he can just give it haste and then the game is officially over. because he gets 2 sets of 2 lands. So I kill the amulet. His hand is a little bit awkward. Has a Summoner's Pact, a Lumra, a Boseiju. It looks like a Echoing Deeps, and a Summoner's Pact, Boseiju. Oh, I skipped a card. It was Lumra. Aftermath Analyst was the card I was trying to remember. So hard casts the Titan, is able to try to figure out. He's got 2 cards that reanimate lands out of the graveyard, and a Titan in play. I really need a way to deal with this Titan, because if I can't just like unsummon it, because that's honestly the reason that we play Sting Scourger, is if my opponent's able to like turn 2 put a Titan in play but not be able to kill me, then unsummoning it back to their hand when they already have to pay for a Summoner's Pact is sometimes how we get wins. As is, I'm super behind. I'm really hoping that I can find a Snoop and a Harbinger so that I can just combo kill, because I think that he's 2 turns away from being able to kill me. If I've mapped it out correctly, he can attack for 7, but there's no amulet, so, and he doesn't have a Dryad, so he can't Valak at me. He can't give another Titan haste, so it's 7 twice, which is 14. He can't just kill me right now. So I have a couple draws and a couple looks at a Snoop and a Harbinger and a land. If I get another Boggart Trawler, I can bolt myself. So I'm looking at this Ringleader, and I'm looking at that Sling Gang. I already have the Harbinger. If I can find a Boggart Trawler and a Snoop, I'm able to cast my Ringleader, dig 4, hit those 2 cards, go to my next turn, bolt myself, even if I don't like naturally hit a land. Gotta stay hydrated. The hydration was very important for this event. Swings for just the 1 because the Titan was just cast. So I'm at 16. Still a 2-turn clock. So now I'm looking, I found the 5th land, trying to figure out, does this change the math? Do I play a Kiki-Jiki? What do I do? I realized that the only thing that I can do is hope that I find a Snoop. I have the Arena of Glory. I just need to find a Snoop. And the only thing that I find is a Sting Scourger, which is a little bit too late. If I was able to get that last turn, it would have been pretty good. However, that is sometimes the luck of the Ringleader. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes you draw 4, sometimes you draw 2, sometimes you draw 0. My opponent has an Otawara, an Echoing Deeps, a Lumra, a Boseiju, an Aftermath Analyst, and another Amulet of Vigor. Trying to figure out if there's lines here, and it's definitely play the Amulet first. Excuse me. So Echoing Deeps can enter as a copy of Urza Saga or Vesuva, but those are not very exciting options. Alternatively, you could play an Otawara just to cast the Amulet, and then you have 2 mana up. Trying to cast this Lumra, it looks like, so doing math to see how much mana we can get second main. The issue is, I think he's 1 short of being able to cast the Lumra second main. Gets 2 bounce lands. If he gets Lotus Fields, then it'll be fine, actually, now that I think about it. Which is where he lands up as well, I believe. Titan is such a beautiful deck like this. It's nice to watch it, and the crazy lines that it can do, because my deck also has some pretty crazy lines. It's nice when you don't really have to worry about like too much interaction. It's just 2 ships in the night. Attacks for 8. I could trade with the Construct here, or I could not block, take 8, go to 8, go to my turn, play a Kiki Jiki, go to his turn. In his turn, copy my ringleader. I have 4 toughness, so I don't literally die. The issue is there's so many lands that Will can grab that fizzle that plan. Also, I know now that I'm looking at the gameplay, he has the Auto R in his hand, and so there's not really much I can do from this spot. As bad as this game felt from the beginning, this is when the game feels completely locked. Uh, he, he the unfamiliar Lotus Field 2 lands per land, so it's 4 total when you get 2. Totally fair. I remind him, he throws him in the bin. No issues. Is able to cast the Lumra. The Lumra does the thing. Mills 3 lands and a Splunking. Brings back the 3 lands he just milled, and then the 4, 5, 6 other lands that were already there. Triggers. It's a really big ritual. It's quite nice. So bounce triggers, bounce triggers, bounce. The lands don't go to the graveyard, so they can't loop. And I'm hoping that I get an extra turn here, because if I get to untap and draw Snoop, I win. So you got 3 bounce triggers. Wait, why are lands getting sacked? Oh wait, hold up. I'm confused. Let me go back. Vesuv is entering as a Lotus Field. Okay. Let me watch where he puts that Vesuva. Vesuva's coppering Lotus Field. Yep, that's what it was. Beautiful. Okay, so that's why those 2 Lotus Fields go to the bin, and then he's able to continue looping with the Aftermath Analyst. Good. Casts it, mills 4. 2, 3. I look at it to make sure it's mill 3 because I thought it was mill 4. But no, it's 2 mana, mill 3, 4 mana, bring back all lands. It's quite good. And thinks about what to do with the Lotus Field and the Boseijus. Untaps, floats mana. Sacrifices 4 lands. 1, 2. Sacks 4. And just passes with the Auto War up, thinking if he draws a Snoop, then I die. If he doesn't draw a Snoop, I don't die. It's very simple. I don't draw a Snoop, I draw the Sting Scourger, or I draw a different card. Bounces the Titan back to my hand, his hand, which is probably not right. Probably should have bounced the Lumra, but both of them are pretty bad. I feel like, yeah, I definitely didn't set myself up in this game to be successful. I have my interaction points. I'm thinking that like the Pashlik will let me like trade with the Titan, but unsummon on my Pashlik mons with the Otawara is quite good. And this is me just waiting to die. I believe that I have died. I'm looking at the life. I know that I have died. I'm just waiting to die. I will concede to the hasty battlements, allowing them. Yeah, it just keeps going. Alrighty. Well, game 2, I feel like I'm in a much better spot game 2. I take out my vials, and I take out a lot of my slower cards, like the fair cards that we're trying just to race with, like Squee, usually cut the Krenko. The Chain Whirler also comes out. We lean pretty heavily on Creator Makers and Trash Masters. Probably cut the Munitions Experts and the Vials to bring in 3 Meltdown, 3 Dampening Sphere, 4 Leyline of the Void. I think that I actually make a really rookie mistake here and not bring in Leyline. I think that the cards I cut here are Warren Instigator and Chain Whirler. No, I cut Squee and Chain Whirler, and then 4 Vials to bring in 3 Meltdown, 3 Dampening Spheres. And I thought that would be enough. But against this Titan deck, I've learned you really need to hit their graveyard. Watching this game 1, I realized that they have so much graveyard interaction. My opponent had only as creatures, only an Aftermath Analyst and a Lumra. Yes, the Summoner's Pact was there, but that Summoner's Pact has to grab a Titan. And so, yeah, I feel like I definitely should have brought the ley lines in, because I think I also lose game 3 with a graveyard loop. And it usually won't matter. Your opponent has access to Boseiju and Otawara pretty freely with that deck, with bounce lands and Titan triggers. But if you're able to just like handicap their mana early, it's so important. And sometimes they just win by casting Aftermath Analyst fairly or Lumra fairly, and they just win the game like that. So we board like that. So I'm thinking I'm on the play. I have Snoop and Harbinger, but 2 Kiki-Jikis. Mine's really risky. People would say never keep this hand. But my brain goes, if Will has an all-in hand, and Will is trying to kill me as fast as possible, probably on turn 3, I'm going to be able to kill him on turn 3. Not because I don't have 2 Kiki-Jiki, or I don't have the ability to combo, so I can't kill him. But I can put a Trash Master on top, draw a Trash Master, play a Trash Master. And that allows me to do some pretty silly things. Shatter all his artifacts, I have a big board, and then I can just play the Kiki-Jiki for value, and I can just go over the top that way. The issue with this being I didn't have a Dampening Sphere or a Meltdown in my opening hand, and I feel like that was definitely a mistake. This entire match, I was like, oh, I just want to turn off those bounce lands, turn off the Lotus Fields, and because I don't have any interaction, no Leyline, no Dampening Sphere, I feel like I'm definitely in a bad spot. Me and Will chatting it up, having a couple laughs, because you got to have fun if you're playing Magic, right? I'm going to fetch, go to 19, then shock. We'll be at 17. Play a Snoop. The top card is a Meltdown, which is awesome if my opponent plays an Amulet. Otherwise, it is a card that does nothing. And I'm really wishing that I had mulliganed for a Dampening Sphere right now, because Dampening Sphere would have helped my draw a lot. I would have been able to go turn 2 Dampening Sphere, turn 3 Snoop, turn 4 Harbinger. Reading Harbinger, not sure exactly what it does. I feel like this is a feint from Will. Will has seen this card so many times. Is thinking about the implications that this could have. There's a Krenko on top, as is. I should put a Sling Gang on top, but I take the bait. I put the Kiki-Jiki on top. Oh, that's right. I have 2 Kiki-Jikis in my hand. I can't put it on top. Psych, I put a Trash Master on top. And then Witch's Vengeance kills, or Vampire's Vengeance kills all of my creatures and the Trash Masters on top. Now you get to see my hand, and it's so sad. I have 2 Kiki-Jikis, a Meltdown. What's the third card? Looks like a Matron. Matron? I feel so bad. Oh, it's a Lord. Okay, so I have a Lord, I have a Trash Master, 2 Kiki-Jikis, and a Meltdown, and my opponent has a Splunking in play. And this Splunking is going to carry them for the rest of this game. I have so many different ways to deal with artifacts right now, but not a lot of ways to deal with these enchantments, which I'm going to die to very promptly. I'll play a Lord and I'll pass. Almost putting the wrong set of cards face up. Yeah, I will say this is my first time ever on the NRG Series Championship or not championship, NRG series showdown camera, and there was a lot. I don't want to say pressure. I was just very anxious to be sitting at this table. I've sat at this table before. I know how this goes, but playing against Will, being 2-0, I was so excited, and I just wish I would have taken a deep breath and mulliganed a little bit better. You know, be more aggressive with those mulligans. Don't be so lax. Yeah, I feel like I was in both of these games. I kept lackluster sevens when there was always better hands to find. Um, and yeah, Will mulliganed to good hands or had good hands both times. And yeah, now the Titan is doing Titan things with the splunking. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to having a rematch, doing better next time, because this definitely is not how I want to how I want to play on the circuit. But shout out to NRG and shout out to Flexlot and SpiceRack.gg for all helping facilitate the event and do an amazing job keeping everybody organized and informed. It was a beautiful time. I had a lot of fun playing Will, even though I was losing here. It meant so much to me just to be able to sit here and just to be able to play at this table that I know. And I draw the dampening sphere now, which is frustrating because what it does is it shows me that if I mulliganed, I would have been more well adjusted. I would have been well adjusted to probably win this game. I would have been very far ahead, but now he doesn't even need to respect the dampening sphere. Makes a green and untaps with the splunking, taps for the colorless to beside you, not giving me the mana on my turn on purpose in case I have some tricky tricks. But I know that I don't. I was very anxious. Definitely will wear less layers next time. I was wearing 3 layers there. I was wearing a t-shirt, a long sleeve, and a hoodie, and I have a jacket on behind me. Don't know why I'm always freezing, but I'm always freezing. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Now Will is just trying to figure out how he's going to exactly execute the game plan of murder. Sometimes you just got to murder your opponent with love. So grabs Teleria West and Bounce Land, deals the damage with the Titan, and passes. Eyebrows up because this means that the game is just over. There's not much that this Goblin's deck can do to stop this Titan's deck or Titan deck. And Will is going in for the kill. Summoner's Pact Teleria West. And now is when I need the ley line, because if I had a ley line here, I took away all of my outs to this game by keeping those 2 Kiki-Jikis in my hand. If I would have just taken a deep breath and said, I can never play both Kiki-Jikis, I think this would have gone very differently. But as is, keeping both Kiki-Jikis in my hand, trying to go through more of a mid-range plan. Both of these games, going to the mid-range, was not to my favor. Again, didn't really know what he was on game 1. Game 2, I have no excuse. I definitely should have mulliganed to a dampening sphere. And this is good for me to know. Meltdown is not something that you should play against Titan because they have splunking, and sometimes they don't even need the splunking or the amulet. They can just go fast with bounce lands and still kill you. Summoner's Pact. Get another Titan. Cast the other Titan. I believe I have died. I'm flicking through my hands so I make sure that I know what I have. I have a Trash Master. I have 2 Kiki-Jikis and a Meltdown. I'm thinking to myself how bad my decisions have been up until this point and how I'm going to learn and do things differently going forward. As Will is figuring out how he's going to advance to 3-0, I'm realizing that I need to be much more on top of my mulligans and not just, keep hands because they have goblins in it. The double key cheeky hand, I have no excuse for. Absolutely no excuse. Now plays an Grazer as a ritual, another bounce land, picking up the Ottawara, and bunch of mana up, just passes the turn. I will play the Trash Master, try to stop it, pass it over, goes to Will's, pays for the Pact, draws, attacks, only trade with one and then die to the other. Good game, Will. Well played. Well, that's sometimes, yeah, I show him the two meltdowns, the Trash Master was in my hand. Sometimes that's how it goes. Well played. Good games with good people. It was a lot of fun.